Welcome to the Gentle Art Podcast with Gene Dunn. Today I'm sitting with my dear friend, Frank Casaccia. And Frank is a fellow student of my mentor, and he's just a good friend. And I thought it might be interesting to talk to Frank a little bit about some metaphysical points and how we are dealing with this so-called pandemic and quarantining and coronication and all the good stuff. Frank, you there?
I am. How you doing, Gene?
I'm doing great. Lovely to see you, my man.
Well.
Thank you. I want to start by just knowing that you and I are guided rightly by divine love, and that the purpose of our discussion today is to share brotherly love and to know the truth. And there's no cause for anxiousness or fear or self-consciousness in any way. So with that, you doing well over there in Florida?
Yeah, everything's fine. There's no traffic. I can get around. Just have been working out the thoughts of others and working out the fear that seems to have come across our nation and world right now.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be like my question, Frank, is like, what do you think metaphysically is the big hurdle for us? And then actually, before we go there, maybe we should define metaphysics for the discussion and for people listening. What do you think metaphysics is?
Well, metaphysics is above and beyond physics.
Hmm?
So the material world has its rules, and metaphysics defies those rules. It is above those rules. It supersedes those rules.
Mm-hmm. I like to think, for me, like the kind of boiled down version of it, if you will, is thoughts are things. The way we think determines our reality, our experience. And I'm giggling to myself inside right now because I just told the master chef, like, boil something down. By the way, everyone, Frank is a master chef, is a culinary wizard, if you will. So I know he won't share recipes, but trust me, the food is delicious. So now that we've defined metaphysics from both our perspectives, so what do you think the big issue is now facing really the world as a whole right now? What is the big issue?
I think the two biggest issues are fear and ignorance.
Fear and ignorance.
Absolutely.
So how do we go about handling the first one, fear? So I heard you say that, like, you're kind of handling or treating or thinking about other people's thoughts.
Yes. Well, I'm going about my business, my days, my errands, my interactions with people, first of all, with compassion, because since they are fearful, the last thing that they need is anybody that would either butt heads with them or contradict their fear. My job is not to educate them or to try to talk them out of being scared or fearful. My job is to be loving, to be compassionate, and hopefully that will allay some of their fears by my demonstrations that there is absolutely nothing to fear. And that old adage, fear itself.
Yeah,
So
the only thing to be afraid of is fear
yeah,
itself, right?
fear itself. Yeah, I'm not very good with cliches. I try to
We try to stay
actually
away from them.
not saying them.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh, uh-huh.
uh, if my statement or sentence begins with "you know what they say," that's most likely not going to happen. So
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
um,
I know that you and I were taught very kind of with some strict parameters to stay away from common language, right? Stay
absolutely,
away from the cliches. They tend to influence us. It can be in a negative direction, right?
absolutely, and it's following the mass as well. Everybody going in one direction. I tend not to go in that direction, and uh, the interesting thing is the last time I went to the market, I was stopped because I did not have anything covering my mouth, my nose, and it had been some time since people started wearing masks and gloves in the supermarkets, and they started the social distancing, and they started the lines outside the door and having tape inside the stores where you have to stand before you're next in line and things like that. But the other day I actually got stopped from going in the store because I had nothing on my mouth and nose. And again, having to express and exercise that compassion. I did not argue with the gentleman who stopped me. I went back into my car and was going to grab a t-shirt or something out of my yoga bag.
I like scarves right now. They
And
work well.
I actually had a little pouch that a gift came in from somebody that I just had in my yoga bag, and it had those little drawstrings. So I ripped it and I put that around, and it got me in. It got me in the store, and
So,
made a little story out of it and tagged my friend. So.
Frank, how do we get to a point, like kind of generally or gently, if you will, how do we get to a point where we're in a place or in a loving place where we can be compassionate right now with all the fear? Like, what if I'm fearful? Like, how do I kind of get to the other side, if you will, and get myself in a place that's loving and compassionate?
Well, again, getting above the fear, not trying to go around it or go through it, but get above it. And I was also taught helping someone else always helps your situation. So if there are any ways that you can help someone else allay their fear, that will automatically help you allay your fear.
Elevate up in consciousness.
Absolutely.
I myself right now am quarantining. I am staying inside pretty much, other than going to the store or going for a walk. I am respecting the idea or the thought of social distancing. And I have put, I put a scarf around my face the other day or a week ago now to go into a supermarket, not really for myself, but because I didn't want to startle anyone else. I didn't want to be the source of fear for someone else. And inside of that, I'm looking for ways to help other people. And so I'm being very prayerful right now. I am putting out some videos and some stuff into the social or the social media or social consciousness that's helping to gently move people forward. Like when you say help others, does it mean literally like go help a lady across the street with her groceries? What do you mean by that? Like,
no, actually, that would right now that would not be the right thing to do. Helping others, like you just said, wearing that facial cover. I've been going about my business and my errands very methodically and slowly to not offend or to elevate the fear in others by encroaching on their space that they really truly feel that they need to have. I mean, who's to say 6 feet is appropriate?
mm-hmm.
Who's to say that 10 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet is the correct amount? I'm not here to judge that or to correct anyone in their thought that 6 feet is the appropriate number. I'm just going to go ahead and follow that and respect other people's space. And in turn, my calmness and the collective way that I go about my day and my business, I just pray and hope that that is a beacon of light for them to see that, hey, that guy's calm.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look scared. Mm-hmm. Why did he not buy the last 3 bottles of bleach?
And toilet paper?
Right. And he just bought 1 bottle of bleach when he could have purchased all 3.
That's an
because I only
point.
need 1.
Right.
I legitimately needed bleach for my white clothes and towels. So there were 3 bottles of bleach on the shelf, and I bought 1. And there was someone who saw me. I don't know if they took notice, if that was their thought, if they needed bleach, if they were going to buy all 3 and were upset that I bought 1 out of the 3, or were they grateful that I left 2 for them, right? Like you said, all starts with a thought. So what was their thought when they saw me just take the 1 bottle of bleach? Were they grateful that there were 2 bottles left on the shelf? Or were they upset that they weren't able to buy all 3 that they saw and mentally claimed? So hopefully they saw that and said, well, that guy's not trying to hoard all the bleach. And I did not stick around to see if they pulled both off the shelf or they just bought 1, but I would hope that they just bought 1 and left the other 1 for someone else.
Or if they needed 2, they got 2. You know
right.
what I mean? Like they got what they needed. You know, Frank, I'm interested to know a little bit more about how you're handling other people's thoughts. I know that one of the principles I'm working with in my own consciousness is no one can think about me any other way than the way divine love thinks about me. And I can't think any other way about someone else other than the way divine love thinks about them, because divine love is the only thinker. Now, sometimes that doesn't work, especially when, I kind of feel like I've been wronged, or someone's kind of pushing in a little bit too much, making me feel uncomfortable, or whatever that case may be. But like, how do you go about kind of treating your thinking, handling your thinking about others thinking about you, about the way other people are thinking?
Well, as far as the way other people think about me, I think that that's been something that I've practiced for a long time, well before this situation that we're in currently. Right. So, when I go to the markets, I know most of the people that work there. And it's not just because I frequent those markets often. It's because of the loving way I go about my shopping and how I greet them and how I treat them. So automatically, I think in treating them the way I want to be treated, I'm also putting out the way I want them to think about me. The way that you put it, beautiful. The way divine love thinks about me is the same way divine love thinks about them as well. So, and as far as my thoughts towards them, first and foremost is no judgment. And again, back to that compassion. Because if we take that example of the bottle of bleach or the 3 bottles of bleach, having compassion and not judging, had that person been in front of me and I needed a bottle of bleach and there were 3 on the shelf and they bought all 3, compassion would say, bless their hearts, they think they need all 3 bottles of bleach. Let them have all 3 bottles of bleach. You'll find what you need elsewhere, or the stock boy will come right behind them and restock the whole shelf. That's one. Also, not judging that person for taking all 3 bottles of bleach because they need a bottle of bleach. Their elderly grandparents who they are shopping for and don't want to go to the market need a bottle of bleach. And the neighbor who's in a wheelchair needs a bottle of bleach. How do I know that all 3, maybe they need bleach and they're buying 3 bottles of bleach for 3 other people and are not going to take one of those bottles. I don't know that. Can you say you knew that going into it? No. So don't judge, be compassionate, and I think everybody's day will go smoother.
I just needed the 4 steaks the last time I went to the market.
Were they the last 4?
Really large steaks. I'm knowing that they had a giant steak back there that they were cutting from. Here's what's interesting to me is that I heard you say that when you're not judging, that the possibility of the stock boy coming out with like more bleach, that your needs will be met. And do you think that like judgment clogs the mechanism? Like how is it that people can get back into like manifestation? Like they need to be mindful of that stuff, because the fear is having you say there's not enough, right? I need 3 bottles of bleach. In the context of the conversation, we don't know, but if the fear is suggesting that to us, and then we're no longer in a place where we're knowing that we have a say, that we can manifest our needs, that all of our needs are being met. Like, so do you think that people listening, or even me, right, that I want to be mindful of the judgment, that's what's clogging the wheels?
I think anything negative clogs manifesting what you need, or manifesting anything for that matter, whether it be fear, judgment, anger. You are not going to have good results with negative thinking. Go back to our mentor, and a saying that she has is like produces like. I mean, and that's not her saying, that is biblical. And you are not going to get an orange from an apple tree. So you are not going to get positive results from negative thinking. And it's not just positive surface thinking.
Right. This is beyond. We're talking
beyond.
This is not positive thinking, right?
This is not positive thinking. This is
like
positive being.
Positive being.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you mean? You are positive. You are literally as said before, above the physics, which is positive. It is not negative.
Like a
Negative is
positively
below. Negative is below the surface, right? So if you are positive, you are above the situation, which is metaphysics being above physics. So you are not susceptible to those fears, those judgments, any of those negative thoughts. So
beautiful
you
point.
are manifestation. You actually are manifestation. You are not manifesting anymore. You actually are manifestation.
So that's the big watch out for us, is to stay out of the weeds, if you will, of negative thinking. But then there's another point that, like, while you're staying out of the weeds of negative thinking, that this is not actually positive thinking. It's positive being. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Absolutely.
And is that really where we want to kind of stay mentally in terms of handling the fear?
Yeah, I mean, I go about my days pretty much the same way I go about my days before this happened.
Yeah, and probably afterwards too, right?
I'm handling other people's thoughts all the time. I mean,
as well as your own.
Absolutely. Am I judging the person for not using their turn signal, or am I judging them for cutting me off? I once had to drive 90 miles per hour in the left turn lane for 10 miles in Los Angeles one time to get to a seeming serious situation. And I'm sure people judged me then. I'm sure people were angry at me then, but this was prior to my metaphysical.
It was an urgent time, right?
Yeah. I was safe and everybody else was safe. And do I want to do that again? No, absolutely not. I want to be able to, like we said, handle that fear. I was fearful when I did that. When I drove 90 miles an hour in the left turn lane.
Hey, Frank, what do you tell somebody that's like getting like information overload, fear overload from the news, and like how do you stay centered in this kind of climate, if you will, this mental, what seems to be like a mental I don't know, tornado or thunderstorm or onslaught?
I don't watch the news.
Neither do I, my man. But some people feel like they need to be informed, right?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's why I didn't know that I needed a mask when I went to the store the other day.
But you got the information you needed.
Got the information. The guy didn't let me in. I had what I needed. I had that little pouch, and I was able to go into the market, and I had to use it 3 more times that day. And now, so if they feel as though they need to watch it, I would say balance and moderation.
Like everything else, right? Balance and moderation.
I understand that there will be few people that will practice the way I practice and know that they will know what they need to know when they need to know it. I know you know that saying.
That's one we use all the time.
And again, with the compassion, I'm not gonna go into a public place and shut the news off. I'm gonna walk past it and not participate in it. And if someone wants to talk to me about it, I'm going to be loving, and I'm not going to ignore them, but I'm going to figure out a way to get around it and get myself out of that situation.
Or above it, right? Above it.
Absolutely.
Hey, Frank, can we go to the next the next portion, which is what I heard you say was, or the next big challenge is ignorance. And so how do we think about that? How do we handle, like, you're not saying someone's stupid. No, it's not like stupidity, Reed. It's like just not being aware yet of metaphysics, or these thoughts that are above the common, the common thread.
Well, we don't even have to. Actually, as far as that goes, I wasn't even talking about metaphysics. That's for someone who wants to go above the physics. I'm talking about people that are in the realm of physics that are ignorant of the physics. I saw a person with one glove on the other day.
One.
I don't know what that does. I saw a guy in the market with his mask on his chin while he was drinking a self-serve coffee, which means that he went to the stack of cups, pressed down the coffee that everybody else puts their hands on, used the stirrer that's in a cup that everybody else touches, uses the sugar that's in a bowl, and then uses a lid that's in a stack that everybody else uses, yet he has a mask on, but it's on his chin. So ignorance in the realm of physics, not of metaphysics. They're not even practicing the laws of physics. If you're wearing gloves and you're touching everything and then you touch your face,
right,
there's no purpose of wearing gloves.
I was driving down the street the other day when this, not the other day, but when this all first started, and I saw a guy pull down his mask to smoke a cigarette. I was like, okay, like, there you go, buddy. Like,
Exactly.
You're picking your poison, aren't you? I found it to be so comical.
Absolutely. They're meant to see it all the time. And again, the best way to have that, the best course of action for that is not judging them again. I'm not going to go up to them and say, wearing those gloves is pointless because you're touching your face. You're going to agitate that person. You're going to elevate their fear. You're going to confuse them. You're going to upset them. And that is not my job. My job is, like you said at the very beginning, to be loving and to take that love, and a derivative of that love is compassion. So, hey, glove manufacturers and mask manufacturers are making money. There's a positive. Who knows? Maybe some small mom and pop glove manufacturer was just about to go out of business and got a huge order, and now they saved their family business. I don't know what this is producing. You have to just take what we have here and find the positive, help people get above the physics, like we said, not judge them, be compassionate. And I really wouldn't even want to delve into much of anything else, like educating them, or it's just at this point with what we're dealing with here.
You know,
things are most important.
I had to learn that some of this is just none of my darn business. Some of the things that people kind of need to learn, some of the things I need to learn, it's not their business either. And so I find that I've learned that the best way is to be loving as much as you can. And sometimes love is just not interfering. It's letting a person be right where they are when they're there, and knowing in consciousness the truth about them. But sometimes you just don't do anything. Like in my martial arts practice, it's sometimes like that. Sometimes it's a very dire situation, like someone is very strong and they're imposing themselves. And if you meet them with that same force, they overcome you. They just gain some momentum. And sometimes the best course is not to do anything at all and let it kind of fizzle out. Let them sort of exhaust themselves, if you will. And then it's time to move. So some of this, I feel like it seems callous, but in the physical, not, it's like none of my darn business. Like I don't have to react. I don't have to like do anything or save anyone per se. I just need to keep love at the forefront of my consciousness and keep doing the best I can moment by moment by moment. Our mentor talks about this is, the experiences are meant to either teach us something or to like give us something, right? To kind of provide something for us in a good way. And so I'm interested, like, Frank, where do you think all of this is going? How do you look at all of this, like this moment, this seeming like, it's almost like biblical stuff. I was saying that in another podcast with our friend John, about how it's like, it seems like fire and brimstone-esque, but what do you think, where do you think all of this is going, man?
I don't.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Absolutely not. I do not allow myself to go down those roads at all. Not even one inkling.
Wow. So like, what are you saying? It's moment by moment by moment? You don't, do you think?
Everything is now.
Uh-huh.
Everything is now. So I do not anticipate where this is going, what this is. To me, it's all nothing that needs to just dissolve back into its nothingness. So for me to think about where it's going, I would be giving it more power than it deserves.
Uh-huh.
Giving it power that it does not deserve at all, actually.
Uh-huh. So when you say it's nothing, you mean like that seems very complex, right? Like, or confusing, right?
Sure.
So when you say it's nothing, what do you mean?
That, as you said before, it all starts with a thought. So if the thought of something is multiplied, you get more of that something. And right now, fear is the thought. So if I'm going to participate in fear, I'm going to multiply fear. If I do not participate in fear, then I am a part of fear dissolving. So, right, if you take mathematics, right, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 0 is 0. Anything times 0 is 0. So if I'm knowing that it's nothing, then anything that tries to counter the divine, I'm canceling it out and I'm bringing it back to its native nothingness.
Wow. That's pretty sharp, man. That's pretty good. Uh-huh.
So we just went into metaphysics when I was really not anticipating going there, because, like I said earlier, back again to the compassion, my thought and intent behind doing the podcast is not to teach someone what I practice, but to at least be a demonstration and an example of how you can live above it. And if you're not living that way, that's okay too.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine. Go about your business in that loving, compassionate
as best
way,
you can, right?
and just keep working on elevating your thought, which will eventually elevate thoughts around you.
You know, our mentor, thank you for that. Our mentor and I were talking yesterday, and we were discussing how we can, our thinking influences the quantum field. That like even in metaphysics, even in physics, like our thinking influences the quantum field. And so I just think it's lovely to know that there's someone out there like yourself and people out there that are working to know that the fear can be canceled, can be nullified, can be eradicated, can be and that's the thing. The fear is kind of the train that delivers the other messages, of illness or of lack or of any number of negative thoughts, negative points of view. Sometimes I think, Frank, and I'm interested, like, if you're not even like, if you won't even go down this road, but like, I think that there's like an adjustment that needs to occur. Not that like this thing has a purpose really, but that when all is said and done, good will reside. That harmony will prevail. And so some of the things that were seemingly going on in the world that needed a correction will correct, will make an adjustment. What are your thoughts about that?
Not to contradict what you said,
which is a very loving statement. Thank you.
But all said and done, I don't really like that statement, if you will. Because saying all will be well when this is all said and done, or after this is all said and done, everything will be good. Everything will be restored back to goodness. Again, back to the now. Who is saying that good is not going on right now? I'm not. Good is always going on. It is always good. Everything is always good. If we're not practicing that way, then we are not practicing our metaphysics. We are not practicing that divine love is all, that it is omnipresent, that we are in love, which would mean we are always in good, which would be a good situation, a good relationship, good economy, having a good government, having good neighbors. All of those things are what we are thinking, like you said earlier. Our thoughts, I am not waiting for something to produce good. I am not waiting for something to make me grateful, to make me joyful, to make me loving. I have to be all of those things despite what everyone else thinks is going on.
I'm at the edge of my seat, man. I feel like I'm in a kung fu movie and I just walked into the 36th chamber, That like I just got access to that. Even up, I got just such a beautiful reminder. Thank you.
Shaolin.
I'm gonna like now I can like hold the hot cauldron and burn the dragons into my forearm. Wow, so good. Literally so good. Very, very good. In conclusion.
Yes.
What's the thought? What's the thought model like to hold? What's something just really like gentle or simple or?
I have to go there. I mean, if you're asking me that, then I have to go to the highest source I know. And the law that he gave us, and that's to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Because really, everything we talked about falls under that. We're just using other words and other methods to get to that, because we would be compassionate automatically. There wouldn't have been a shortage of toilet paper and bleach and all of those things. There just would be more compassion in the world, and things would run a whole lot smoother. So I have to go there with it, because that's the source that I draw from, and I'm the guest on the show. If I did not bring that up, then I would not be true to myself, and then there would have been no purpose for you to have me on, except to come back to who I believe in, and that is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
That's beautiful, man. Really good. Well, I will for sure be working on that stuff. And this was just an honor, man. I know that it really takes something for us. And I'm so grateful for the work you're doing. I'm grateful that there are people out there like you. I'm grateful to know you. I'm grateful that you agreed to come on the show and to discuss some metaphysics and the principles and your thought models. And I love you dearly, my friend. Thank you.
I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for our relationship. I'm grateful to have a brother in you. I'm grateful for all the things you're doing. I have a lot of regard for your work, how you are out in the field, how you are bringing the word out there. You are elevating thought, and you are expressing exactly what we talked about this whole time, that love and compassion. And it was absolutely my pleasure to be on, and I bless everything that you do, including this podcast. So
thank you.
I know that it will reach who it needs to reach when it needs to reach them.
Love you, Frank. Thank you.
I love you too. Absolutely.
All right, man. Well done.